From spiders chilling in ears to worms snacking on brains, let's check out 8 amazing creatures that decided to call the human body home sweet home. Number 8. Headache? Nah, just a roach rave. Ever had one of those headaches that make you question your life choices? You know, the ones that have you asking, was it stress, a skipped meal, binge watching the entire season of Stranger Things in one night? But how many of us can say our headache was the result of a tiny uninvited guest? Meet Selby, a 42-year-old domestic worker whose headache mystery could rival an episode of Scooby-Doo. As reported by the New Indian Express, Selby's migraine madness was caused by none other than a cockroach. Yep, one of those tiny 6-legged party crashers decided to explore the uncharted territory of Selby's nasal passage while she was catching some Z's. Despite her best efforts to evict the freeloader, it just wouldn't budge. After a sleepless night filled with bug-related horror, Selby made her way to Stanley Medical College Hospital. Lo and behold, the doctors discovered the cockroach living its best life on her skull, right between her eyes. Word on the street, it was hosting a tiny rave up there, complete with a mini disco ball. Luckily for Selby, this story has a happy-ish ending. The interloping insect was finally shown the door, and her headache nightmare came to a close. Silver lining? If the cockroach hadn't been caught, it would have eventually met its maker. The not-so-silver lining, a deceased roach could have caused an infection, potentially reaching her brain, and turning this headache saga into a full-blown horror show. So next time you've got a headache, don't forget to consider the possibility of an unwanted critter living up in your head. It's the stuff of legends, or at least a great party anecdote. Number 7. Spider in the ear? No fear! Here's a modern-day horror story that'll make you check your ears before bed. This is the curious case of Li Meng and her irresistible roommate. In 2015, Li and her superstitious boyfriend went hiking, bonding over nature and possibly arguing about which Hogwarts house they belong in. All was well until they stumbled upon a patch of wild berries growing atop a tomb. No less. Her boyfriend, playing the role of a wannabe Bear Grylls, warned her against snacking on them. The berries were not only creepy tomb accessories, but also potentially poisonous. But Li, being the rebellious spirit that she was, chomped them down anyway. Soon after, Li began experiencing eerie noises and pain in her ear. Believing she angered the spirits for devouring the forbidden fruit, she tried praying the pain away. Spoiler alert, the spirits didn't care for her prayers. Desperate for relief, Li sought help from the doctors at Xiamen City Hospital. And guess what they found? No demons or ghosts, but a tiny 8-legged roommate had taken up residence in her ear canal. Yep, a spider had spun a web so cozy on her eardrum that it was ready to sign a lease. Every attempt to evict the squatter only made it more aggressive, causing more pain for our unfortunate berry enthusiast. Finally, the doctors had an epiphany worthy of a Marvel superhero. Administer some medicine to make the spider dizzy, then extract it with tweezers, and just like that, Li was freed from her uninvited guest. The moral of the story? Listen to your boyfriend when he tells you not to eat random berries, and always carry a can of bug spray. Who knows what creepy crawlies might decide to Airbnb in your ear canal. Number 6. Please, no more veggies! Picture this, your folks insist you chow down on some greens, but you're just not feeling it. What's your secret weapon? 2 words. Ron's Feedin'. No, it's not a spell from Hogwarts or a cheat code for your favorite game. It's a name that'll have your parents thinking twice about pushing greens. Ron's Feedin', a retired 75-year-old teacher, made headlines for a bizarre veggie-related medical mystery. Already dealing with emphysema, his breathing troubles escalated, causing his panicked wife to rush him to the hospital in May 2010. Upon examination, doctors found his left lung had collapsed. Ron braced for the worst, fearing a tumor or even cancer, but the truth was far stranger and would have made any veggie lover squirm. Forget Grandma's garden, because this green quest set up shop right inside Ron's lung. That's right, a pea plant was sprouting in there. Doctors guessed that the pea had taken a detour down the wrong pipe, small enough to squeeze in but too big to escape. In a plot twist worthy of a sitcom, Ron and his wife managed to find humor in the whole ordeal. So while veggies might not be out to get you, they sure can give it a shot. Number 5. Green tooth. Picture this. A 36-year-old Taiwanese man finds himself in a bizarre predicament when a plant decides to sprout from his not-so-pearly white. Clearly, brushing and flossing weren't his top priorities, but an unbearable toothache finally convinced him to make that dreaded dentist appointment. As expected, poor dental hygiene was the culprit behind his agony. But there was more to the story, something straight out of a twisted fairy tale. Post-extraction, the dentist was flabbergasted to discover a guava sprout emerging from the cavity within the decaying molar. This peculiar revelation quickly turned heads, drawing curious stares from fellow dentists and patients alike. Eager to dodge the walk of shame, the embarrassed gent made a swift exit, hoping to evade the spotlight as the star of the freak show. Unfortunately for him, the doctor snapped a pic of the tooth, and the internet did its thing. Since then, the photos spread like wildfire, teaching us 2 valuable lessons. First, never underestimate the power of dental care. And second, brace yourself, folks. The plants are coming for us. Coming up next is number 4, but first, it's trivia time. In terms of attributed human deaths, which are more dangerous? A. Bees, B. Snakes, C. Sharks, or D. Houseflies? Leave your answer in the comments, and let's see who knows their stuff. Number 4. Fish and Pepe. This next story's so bizarre. It's like the universe binge-watched all the episodes of Black Mirror and said, hold my beer. Picture this. An Indian boy, minding his own business, cleaning his fish tank like he's Aquaman's intern. But you know, nature calls, and our boy has to answer the porcelain phone. So he does what any reasonable 14-year-old would do, takes the fish with him. I mean, who has time for a proper fish relocation when you're about to do the bathroom boogie? This is where things take a turn for the worse, or should I say, for the weirdest? It's like a deleted scene from Finding Nemo gone horribly wrong. The fish slips out of his hand and, against all odds, lands right in the kid's urethra. Yep, you heard that right. That's one small slip for fish, one giant leap for fish in urethra kind. Now, we can't blame the boy for freaking out. I mean, wouldn't you? He starts feeling pain, dribbling urine like he's in a pee version of Space Jam, and suffering from acute urinary retention, which is fancy talk for can't pee, send help. Obviously, this situation's bad news for this little guy, and worse news for the fish, who probably just wanted to meet Dory and Marlin. So off to the hospital he goes, where this bizarre tale becomes the topic of academic papers and water cooler conversations. But here's the kicker. Getting that fish out was tougher than trying to explain Game of Thrones Season 8. In the end, doctors had to use a rigid ureteroscope, a tool designed for bladder stone removal. You could practically hear the boy's urethra shouting, "Ouch!" in Morse code. Number 3. Squid Baby. I swear this next story is 100% true, and as real as your weird cousin's conspiracy theories about lizard people. And while it might sound like a pitch for a B-list horror film, it's actually a documented case that took place in South Korea. Picture this, a woman just trying to enjoy a nice meal of parboiled squid. You know, your standard Wednesday night dinner. But then, the universe decides to pull a fast one, and we're suddenly in the twilight zone of seafood. As our lovely lady takes a bite, she's hit with a sharp pain in her mouth that makes her spit everything out faster than you could say, "Honey, I impregnated my mouth with squid babies." Yep, you heard that right. Our intrepid diner found herself with a mouthful of bug-like organisms, which sounds like something straight out of a Lovecraftian horror story. But fear not, because this tale has a slightly more scientific explanation. Turns out, those little critters were none other than baby cephalopods, clinging to her tongue and cheek like they're auditioning for the next Alien movie. How did they get there, you ask? Well, the culprit's the squid's spermatophores, little packages of love that typically attach to a female squid's body during reproduction. But in this case, they decided to go rogue and find a new home in this poor lady's mouth. Talk about making a splash. I think it's safe to say that any warm, fuzzy maternal feelings were far, far away from this woman's mind at the time. It's time to answer the trivia. The answer is D. Houseflies. They're capable of spreading at least 65 diseases, including salmonella, typhoid fever, cholera, and tuberculosis. Gross. Number 2. Worm and brain. Our next story is like a bizarre episode of House. Imagine a world where tiny worms invade human brains, turning us into a race of zombies. No, it's not the plot of the next big summer blockbuster. It's a real-life medical mystery that'll have you rethinking that trip to China. Our tale begins with a 50-year-old Chinese man who, after visiting the UK, starts experiencing headaches, seizures, memory flashbacks, and even a messed up sense of smell. Sounds like a wicked hangover, right? But alas, it was much, much worse. Enter the team of doctors, trying to crack this medical whodunit like they're the CSI of weird brain stuff. 4 years, yes, you heard that right, 4 years go by before they finally discover the culprit, a tiny parasite chilling in the man's brain like it's an all-inclusive resort. Now, you're probably wondering, how the heck did that worm get in there? And the truth is, we really don't know. It could have been from contaminated water, an infected piece of meat, or maybe the worm just really wanted to see Big Ben. The possibilities are endless. The fact is, there's a whole lot we don't know about these brain-invading worms. How many species can they infect? How do they even manage to pull off this creepy parasitic stunt? Your guess is as good as ours. So the next time you feel a headache coming on or your sense of smell goes haywire, just remember this real-life story that's equal parts intriguing, terrifying, and downright perplexing. Number 1. A baby. Here's a story that'll make you wonder if The X-Files is actually a documentary series. That's right, we're talking about a real-life pregnant man. Nope, this isn't an episode of Maury Gone Horribly Wrong. This is the bizarre case of Sanju Bhagat from India. You see, Sanju had always been teased for his unusually large belly. People in his village joked that he looked like he was 9 months pregnant. But little did they know, their playful jabs were eerily close to the truth. As it turns out, Sanju was suffering from an incredibly rare medical condition called fetus infertu. Basically, his twin had pulled a Houdini and gotten trapped inside him before they were born. Normally, both twins would perish in this unfortunate predicament, but not in Sanju's case. Oh no, his parasitic twin decided to hang around for 36 years, like an uninvited house guest that just won't leave. How did this persistent twin manage to stick around for so long? Well, it formed an umbilical cord-like structure that leached off Sanju's blood supply. But eventually, the parasitic twin grew so large that it started causing Sanju severe pain and other issues. That's when the doctors stepped in, ready to evict this unwelcome tenant from Sanju's body. And boy, were they in for a shock. As they removed the parasitic twin, they were stunned by the bizarre nature of Sanju's condition. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you didn't watch this one before lunch.